Have you ever wondered what people talk about with their financial advisors? Well, today we're going to actually look at a survey of nearly 400 experienced advisors that talk about what people come in with as their biggest concerns, challenges, and their financial goals. And we're going to talk about whether or not that's the same thing Lee sees over in his office there at J.L. Perkins Wealth Management, and talk about these main concerns that people have with retirement.
Welcome to the My Retirement Clarity Podcast, where our goal is simple: to help you close the gap between what you know and what you implement. The team at J.L. Perkins Wealth Management does this by helping good people make great decisions so they can enjoy an amazing retirement. And now, here's your host and financial advisor, Lee Perkins.
Glad to have you on My Retirement Clarity. Once again, I'm Ben George with Lee Perkins, owner and financial advisor at J.L. Perkins Wealth Management. There in Macon, Georgia. Find them online, myretirementclarity.com. Lee, go inside the office a little bit today. I think this is going to be a fun conversation because I think we all play the comparison game, or at least are curious about what are other people thinking about, what are other people focused on, what are their concerns. So I think this is going to kind of paint a nice little picture of some of the common concerns that people have.
Yeah, absolutely. This what I like about this topic is we're really going to talk about what the concerns that I see people when they come in, what they see their concerns really are. And so we want to address those concerns, bring them into context, bring them into focus and address those. But, I'm going to make the point on the show today that some of their concerns should not be concerns of theirs, and they should be concerned about a couple of other things that we'll get into. So this will be good.
This will be good as well. So if you have questions, 478-254-3550. Remember, you can always schedule a time to meet with Lee and the team there by going to talkwithjlp.com. Easy way to schedule a meeting. All right, so this, again, is a survey of nearly 400 experienced advisors from around the country, and we'll drop this survey into the show notes too. You can look for yourself. But advisors in the survey said 52% of their clients seek out a financial advisor to help with retirement planning, while 34% are primarily working with someone just to build wealth. Is that what you see, Lee, or are more people focused on one or the other?
Well, most of the people that come to us have already done the research on us, and they know who we are and what we do. We are working with folks who have challenges in retirement, who are facing all the different things that come with someone who is either retired or almost about retired. We don't have a lot of folks that are in their 20s or 30s that are in that accumulation phase. We find we provide the most value to people who are close to making that decision, because ultimately it really does get more complicated when you retire. And I know this is kind of contrary to what a lot of people may think, but yeah, that's sort of where we are as a firm. So yeah, most of the people come in with that true retirement planning concern.
And, when people come in, everybody is at a different level and stage. Most of the advisors here said the average was around $760,000 in their client assets when they come in. So, $750,000. Is that similar to what you have, Lee? Do you kind of have any kind of requirements for clients when they come in? Where's that typical range for you?
I would say probably over the last, well, let's flash back maybe 10 years ago. 10 years ago, if you had somebody come in and they had $1 million, that was kind of an anomaly. There weren't that many folks that came in with that much money, and they may have $500,000 to $750,000. Now, I would say in the last 2 years, most of the folks that we're seeing are over $1 million, and there's nothing magical about that number. But like I've said, maybe on the last show, I think it was, or 2 shows ago, people want to know, hey, is $1 million enough to retire? And we sort of talked through that. So yeah, we're seeing people north of $1 million for the most part now. Do we have a minimum asset requirement for people? No, we don't. But I have a minimum percentage, and that's 100%. If somebody's got $1 million and they want me to manage, our firm to manage $100,000 and get all the planning for us and not allow us to manage all of that, we won't take on that client. We want folks to fully trust us and our advice. We're not going to battle against another advisor and us get half the money. They give the other half to another advisor, and let's see who wins, because we're not in a returns race. We're in I would say we're in a values race, and there's no reason for you to have two voices, two coaches sort of telling you what to do. So yeah, that's kind of it. I mean, we want somebody to fully trust us because we're going to give them advice and we want them to implement it without any kind of distraction from another advisor.
Yeah, it's interesting to kind of see where people come in. And everybody wants to know kind of where they stand. So that kind of gives you an idea of what advisors around the country are looking at. Now let's shift to concerns, Lee, because this I think is what's most interesting here. So out of the surveyed advisors, their clients' top concerns, they say, number one was outliving their assets, 38%, running out of money. No surprise there.
Yeah.
Number two was generating reliable income streams, about 31%, so very similar numbers. Then from there, it drops off a little bit. Future stock market crashes was a top concern for 12.5% of people. And then healthcare costs checked in at number four. Only 8.5% of people said that was their top concern. So what do you make out of these numbers?
All right. Yeah. So we'll kind of break these down a little bit, one by one. I may have to get you to remind me of these as we go
Nope,
through this.
no
But
problem.
outliving their assets, obviously that has, I think that has been the number one concern of people because everybody just wants to know, have I done enough? And ultimately, that is where our bread and butter is trying to develop a comprehensive plan that addresses everything. But the number one thing is we want to make sure that they handle things in a very prudent way. So that means we're going to evaluate their income sources, but we're also really going to dig into their expenses. So, I don't care what somebody pays for their cable bill or what their car payment is or what their electricity bill, anything like that. What we want to know is that can you handle the expenses that you have? And if you can, then you're in a good spot. And if you can't, that means we just have to close the gap with maybe withdrawals in a tax efficient way to make sure that there's some long-term sustainability. So we want to make sure that the withdrawal strategies that we put together are tax efficient. Do you have to take too high of a percentage from your assets to fill the gap? If you do, then you could run out of money depending on, of course, how long you live. So maybe we want to bump that down a little bit. But some people are like, I gotta take $6,000 a month. And if they have a certain amount of assets, $6,000 a month is not sustainable. So the thing we have to do is then examine expenses and what can you trim off of that. And of course, what you invest in certainly makes a difference on whether or not you're going to outlive your assets. And you can't, just because you retire, you can't, probably not very politically correct. You can't start investing like an old lady or an old man. And like I've said before, my definition of old changes on this show, but you can't take all your money and stick it under a mattress and think that money's going to sustain you to the end. You've got to do something to grow that money over time. So yeah, there's a lot of different things that we try to help our people with from an outliving their asset standpoint. So what was the second one that you mentioned, Ben?
Generating reliable income streams.
When we're doing the income and expense analysis, the cash flow analysis, we want to make sure that we're being proactive on the income sources, meaning Social Security. Over the last couple of, I'd say probably 8 months to a year, we've gotten a couple of great clients from large national wirehouse firms that are generally going to be more focused on just the accumulation phase. They spend 95% of their time talking about the investment. And I used to be that guy when I've told a story. I used to work for Smith Barney, and that's what we talked about. I just don't think there's real value in that. People want to know about Social Security. When do I draw it? How do I claim it? How can I make sure my spouse is taken care of? We want to help folks with that. Well, I want to help them make the right decisions with their pension if they are fortunate enough to work for a company that provides a pension. So we do all those kind of things. So, there's a lot of different things that we can do there to help people make sure that as much of their income comes in and they get what we call mailbox money, because that's mailbox money is fun when it comes in, but we just want to make sure that it is reliable. And I think the next one that you mentioned maybe is stock market crashes.
Correct. Yeah.
At like, what was that percentage? 12% or something like that?
12 and a half.
So everybody, and even, most advisors, we all want to go back to and look at, what happened in 2008 where the market was way, way, way down. Mm-hmm. We've got a great chart in our office. and it shows the history of the S&P 500. And it's kind of a bar graph, and it shows where the market finished positive, where it finished negative. And I think if I'm remembering this correctly, the market has finished in 35 of 45 years, the S&P 500 has finished positive. But everybody remembers 2008, and they're like, oh, I don't want to do that again. But the good thing about this chart, and we're not on this is not a video, we're not doing a YouTube video, so I can't show the chart, but it will show where the market went down during the year. And so there's a red dot that shows you how far the market went down during the year. And it's easy to see a bunch of times it was down during the year. But if you remain disciplined, then the market finished positive a bunch of times. So I think the average is it's been down during the year, an average of 14% at some point during the year. And this makes people nervous. And so you just want to, at the end of the day, trust your process. If you have a process, if you're just willy-nilly picking things and you don't really know what you're doing, then that's not a process you could probably trust. But if you're working with somebody like our firm or some other firm that can help you with a strategy that works in up markets and down markets, you're going to be good. Hey folks, Lee Perkins here. I wanted to tell you about our brand new book called Next Phase, How to Retire in a Year or Less Without Regrets. It's all about helping you prepare for the next phase of your life, whatever that looks like for you. So, if you're ready to make the most of your next phase, or if you're already retired and aren't sure you're doing all you can to get the most out of your retirement, then you'll want a copy of this book. All you have to do is text Next Phase to 478-475-2050, and we'll send you a copy right away. You can also access additional resources and register for one of our upcoming workshops at our website, www.myretirementclarity.com. Thanks for listening. Now back to the show.
Yeah, and it's interesting, that concern. What about healthcare costs, Lee, at the end there? Is that surprise you at all?
Yeah, I mean,
8.5%?
Healthcare, at about 8% of folks is a concern, and that's a valid concern for most people. You could spend all your money buying insurance and a policy for this and policy for that. At the end of the day, I don't know how much you can actually protect yourself from all of the things that could happen to you. You want to make sure, obviously, you've got good health insurance. Medicare obviously is a great thing for a bunch of people, but people that want to retire at 61, 62, 63, something like that, not eligible for Medicare, and maybe they're rolling off of their company's healthcare insurance, there's a concern there because they got a period of time where they need to do something else. So you can get, obviously, COBRA with your existing company. That is expensive. Don't discount the opportunity to get a private policy from a local person. So look into that. Don't just automatically assume that you got to work to 65. I would tell you to also maybe consider something like MediShare. And that's a Christian sharing ministry where you basically share in other people's bills. My wife and I did that for years. That can work too, but I would not sit around moping about everything that could happen to you, because you never know, and that could certainly put a lot of added worry on you going into retirement. And I don't think you need to do that.
Yeah, and if you had that added worry going into retirement, that's, again, a reason why we offer this book for anybody that listens to the show. Next Phase, Lee, I know it's an offer you make here, and people take advantage of it, but it's for those people that are thinking about retirement and that transition to their next phase of life.
Yes, and we touch on a lot of different topics and give some good general advice. We're not going deep dive and going 50 pages on the healthcare and the strategies you can do or any other thing like that. But it is going to be a broad overview of a lot of different concerns that we see in the real world. So if you want a copy of that, text the word Next Phase to 478-475-2050. Put in your contact information. We'll get you a copy.
Awesome. Very good. All right. So the advisor concerns on the flip side of this, Lee, this is what advisors said that their clients should be most concerned about, that unanticipated healthcare costs. That's over half of advisors say that should be number one. And then outliving your assets was number two. But that's the vast majority. Over 90% of advisors say those two should be your concern. Do you agree?
I'm going to say maybe I don't agree because I've seen a lot of people in real world. Here's what I want people to worry about, Ben, and this is kind of me maybe going a little bit off script, and just because I've seen things that really happen to real people. Here's what I want you to worry about when you retire. There's two things. I want you to worry about how you're going to spend your money. Meaning, one of the things we're going to do for you is we're going to put together a spending plan because I want you to enjoy your money and I want you to spend your money. I'm not an advisor that's going to come in here and if you started $1.3 million and then you come in a year later and you've got $1.4 million and we just look at the TV and smile and go, oh, that's so great. We've increased your money. Well, if you hadn't done anything with it, if you hadn't spent it, if you hadn't gone on any trips or given any of it away, what's it for? It's a number on a TV screen. So we're going to put together a spending plan to show you how you can spend your money and then just have the best time you can have in this next phase of life because we're not promised tomorrow. I mean, we're not promised tomorrow. And these people that are like, I want to work one more year because I want to put another $20,000 in my 401k account. Ben, I'm telling you, I've got zero clients that are going to die and run out of money. They're going to die and have way more money than they ever imagined. So that's why I want them to enjoy it. Just enjoy it to the fullest. And then the second thing that I want people to worry about, and this maybe truly is a traditional worry, I want you to have a plan for the financial impact of the death of your spouse. Because all those other things that we mentioned, a stock market crash could happen, your health care could decline, and that could get. What is going to happen is we are all going to die, whether you're going to go first or your spouse is going to go first. So I want you to have a plan for the financial impact. What's going to happen to y'all financially when one of you die? And I got news for you. Your expenses are not going to be cut in half. That has never happened. And then you're going to be a single filer, and that's when the tax man comes calling at what I think is more of a less favorable rate for you. So those are the two things I want you to worry about. I want you to worry about spending your money, and I want you to have a plan for when your spouse passes away.
All right, one last thing here, Lee. Working in a retirement, according to the survey, an average of 63% of clients aged 55 and older intend to work to 65 and beyond. Yet only 30% of their clients are still working at 65 and older. And then 48% of clients feel their savings aren't enough to live on, and 41% say they need health insurance. So just kind of looking at those numbers, what do you see in terms of people working past 65? Do they tend to work longer than they anticipated, or do they tend to retire earlier than maybe they expected?
I would say a vast majority of my clients that are working past 65 are doing that because they want to have something to do and not really because they need the money. I've got some people that have really, really seen things happen. They're like, boy, if I retire and I sit home and I got nothing to do, I'm going to be bored. I'm going to get unhealthy and I'm going to die. So that's a real concern. So I think people just want to stay engaged. So they're working, not really to make a whole bunch of money, but they're working to stay involved, keep the mind sharp, and have that social interaction. And I think that's a good thing. But either way, have a plan of what you are going to do in retirement. And if that involves a part-time job that gives you flexibility on your schedule, I'm all for it.
Yeah, all for it. Very good. Well, again, if you want to take advantage of that book offer, text Next Phase to 478-475-2050. But if you want to schedule a meeting and begin kind of talking with the team there at JL Perkins Wealth Management about your concerns and starting addressing those things, go to talkwithjlp.com. It's the easiest way to schedule a meeting in a time that works for you. All right, Lee, we'll get out of here on that note. Appreciate everyone listening to My Retirement Clarity. We'll be back again soon with another episode, so please subscribe, and we'll talk to you then.
Hey there, Lee Perkins here. If you're like a lot of folks, you've been listening to this podcast for a long time now. But I've got an important question for you. Have you implemented any of the ideas that we've discussed on the show? If you haven't, what are you waiting on? You know you're not getting any younger. So here's my challenge. Don't just consume the content. Our number one goal for this podcast is to help you close the gap between what you know and what you implement. So if you're ready to implement, take that first step today and visit www.talkwithjlp.com and schedule a 15-minute phone call with one of our advisors, and we'll help you close the gap between what you know and what you implement so you can enjoy the next phase of your life. Now is your time. Don't procrastinate any longer.
Investment advisory services are offered by J.L. Perkins Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor and insurance agency. Information is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, legal, or investment advice. Always consult with a qualified tax, legal, or investment professional before taking any action.